Hello and welcome to Patterns in Application Design course here at Arkansas State University. And this is the second course in a series of 3 classes all about application design. And for this course, we're specifically diving deep into coding and development and how we're going to actually make our applications for our chosen platforms. Now, if you're enrolled in this course, there's basically 2 different tracks. One track is for Android development, and the other track is for iOS development. In my opinion, I would prefer to just stick to iOS development. I think it's a little bit simpler, a little bit easier. I don't have anything against Android, but unfortunately, iOS development is locked down to Mac devices. So if you don't own a Mac, either a MacBook or an iMac, you're not going to be able to create iOS applications, and that's a problem. So I wanted this class to be open to everybody. So I also have an Android track. You'll know which one you're enrolled in because I've queried and asked which one you should be in before the class starts, and I've placed you into the appropriate section, and you'll have the appropriate modules available to you that'll say iOS or Android. And if they don't say the right one, then just shoot me an email and I'll try and fix that as quickly as possible. So like I said, developing for iOS is locked down to Mac only, but you can also develop Android on Macs, which is great. Android can also be used on Linux, on Windows machines, and basically any platform you could imagine. So you will need a laptop for this class or a desktop computer capable of development. Now, the required specifications aren't super high. You can check those out on our syllabus page. There are a few different programs that you're going to need for this class depending on what section you're in. I'm going to talk about each one. So no matter what section you're in, you're going to need to create a GitHub account. So go ahead and visit github.com, and just the basic standard account is totally fine. You'll create a username, use an email and password, and you'll make a GitHub account. You don't need to pay anything. This is totally free. And GitHub is a version control website where basically you'll be able to share your assignments with me and also back up your content. So it's going to save multiple versions of your content, and you can revert to older versions, older copies. If your hard drive gets corrupted or something happens, you'll always have copies on GitHub. And GitHub is kind of like a portfolio as well. So get accustomed to using it regularly if software development and application development is something that you want to get into as a career. You're also going to need Adobe XD. So Adobe XD is free design software provided by Adobe. Totally free. You don't need a subscription or anything for Creative Cloud. And XD allows us to quickly prototype our applications. So that's why we're going to be using it. There are other prototyping applications that are common in the industry, such as Sketch. That's probably the most popular. Sketch does cost money, however, and I wanted to keep this class completely free for you. So we're going to use Adobe XD. The skills are transferable, so even if you worked at a company that used Sketch over Adobe XD, it's almost precisely the same. You should have learned Adobe XD in the previous course before this class, Human-Centered Design, but we will very quickly review Adobe XD this first week. You're also going to need to visit the App Store if you're on Mac and go ahead and download Xcode. So just search Xcode and Xcode will appear and you'll download and install it. Xcode is a pretty large program, so just keep that in mind. And also it changes very frequently. It's going to take up a lot of hard drive space, especially because Xcode includes what's called Simulator, which is actually the capability to simulate devices like an iPhone and an iPad on your device, and that's going to require more and more space depending on the number of devices you'd like to simulate. So keep that in mind. This can take up a good amount of space on your computer, 20, 30 gigabytes, so make sure you have some free space. So you're going to go ahead and download and install Xcode, as well as the Books application. So just, the Books application should be installed by default. If it's not, get it from the App Store and you can just search Books. And whenever you get to the Books application, by the way, this is all for the Mac version of the class, you're going to search App Development with Swift, and you'll grab that book. the App Development with Swift book. We're going to be using the iOS 12 edition. We'll also use the Intro to App Development book. These are two different books and they operate a little bit differently, so we'll also use this intro book. So get both of those. If you're in the Android section of class, you need to download and install Android Studio. And you can find Android Studio simply by searching for it. And on the developer website, you can download and install the application. Android Studio is also quite large. You can see it here on my computer. So keep that in mind. And as you can also simulate devices on Android Studio. You do have to download those individually. So again, that'll take up quite a bit of space. There's no textbook for the Android Studio section of the class. We'll be using other content instead. So once you have all of those and all your accounts are created, come back here and move on to the next video.